Hey there, welcome to Sea Power and welcome to the F-125 Baden-Württemberg class. This is a very interesting ship because it's a bit of an enigma. The ship was, or rather the class, was initially ordered in 2007. That's important. We're past the Cold War, the Red Menace is no longer a problem, and the entire world thinks we're doing peacekeeping operations. That is what this ship was apparently designed with that principle in mind. We are doing peacekeeping. Lots and lots of peacekeeping. And yet, this thing has enhanced survivability. First though, let's have a look at what these things actually do. Well, for a warship, I think it might have misunderstood the part that said war. Because it has defenses. Rolling airframe missiles. These things are defenses. Fine. We have 8 offensive harpoons at 80 miles. We have a couple of generic Mauser rounds. That's 27mm. Again, defensive. Very defensive against aircraft. Then there's 600 missing text rounds for the 5-inch gun. The 127mm gun. Not very defensive. There's another bunch of missing text. These are Volcano rounds. High explosive anti-tank. These ones are just high explosive. And then we have the 10,000 rounds for the, I think it's called the hit roll? Yeah, the hit roll, which is another anti-surface option. And we also have a mass omni trap, which is a fancy chaff decoy launcher. I reiterate my point, this thing is made with peacekeeping in mind. But there's also the somewhat surprising superstructure here. Because, and this was news to me, there's something called the two-island principle, which means that systems are going to be present in 2 places at the same ship. You can see that here. We have one superstructure with part of the sensors, and then by the looks of it, we have another part of the superstructure with another set of sensors. I get that if you are an actual warship, which is likely to go into a war zone, you would have that. But this is supposedly a peacekeeping ship. Or, well, how should I phrase it? Wikipedia says it's a series of frigates which were designed, blah blah blah, the heaviest displacement of frigates in the world, by the way. They're primarily designed for stabilization, crisis management, conflict prevention, and international intervention operations. Also asymmetric threat control at sea, and support of special forces. Well, maybe special forces can use it as a base, but if this thing doesn't carry Tomahawks, for example, it's not exactly going to be providing direct support to a special forces team, at least not in that role. These things have a displacement of 7,200 tons. That's a hefty, hefty frigate. Let me pull up the other supposed frigates in contrast. We have, for example, the Jiangdongs, which displace 1,900 tons. Jiangyu for the Chinese, 2,000 tons, just shy. Oliver Hazard Perry, 4,100 tons. This thing, I'd say, is just shy of a destroyer in displacement, but it is so lightly armed that I wonder how exactly you're going to make use of it. At least in Sea Power. Because, of course, Sea Power operates on, let's say, the highest threat spectrum. You are in a direct war footing. You can expect missiles to come at you. You can expect to try and send missiles back. This ship is not going to do very well at doing either. Because she simply wasn't designed to do it. Also, take note of the immediate lack of anti-submarine weapons on the ship itself. There are none. Supposedly, she carries a helicopter, but this version of the ship doesn't. So, unfortunately, we have no aircraft to speak of. What I did find quite interesting to read about this particular type of ship is that they have some pretty ambitious goals as to how long these things are supposed to be in a deployment for. It says these things are supposed to design for up to 2 years away from home ports, with an average sea operation time of more than 5,000 hours a year. That's a heck of a lot of time. Which includes operations under tropical conditions. Okay. Okay. So I guess you just fly the crew out to another station. They board the ship, and the first crew disembarks and goes off on an airplane and goes home. Something to that effect. It's not unheard of. I mean, the Dutch Navy does it too, to some extent. But it's just less than usual, I'd say. Especially for ship and sea power. Again, we're going to come back to that. Because the game is called Sea Power. And I understand that you want to have something like your big national ship in there. But this is one of those ships that just doesn't quite do much. I'm sorry, Germany. But it just doesn't do a whole lot. And from what I'm seeing here, there is a modernization planned, which was approved rather recently, November 2025. And it is known as the FUWES-M, Standardisierung maritimer Führungs- und Waffeneinsatzsysteme. Standardization of maritime command and control system, or command and weapon systems. They have a budget of 250 million. It is expected to incorporate the new Aegis fire control system, as well as a new tactical interface, but it doesn't say anything about new weapons. That's interesting. It doesn't say anything about new weapons. So, I guess this ship is going to be forever doomed to be lightly armed. Or at least, like, I don't know. Yes, you can fire 8 harpoons at something and you can defend yourself, because don't even consider defending a fleet with 5-mile range. It's a bit of a weird ship, especially with that two islands principle where you have redundancy. It just makes me go, redundancy for what? If you have a very heavily armed warship and you want to make sure that the sensors for that particular ship stay operational, you're going to have redundancy. You're going to have sensors in the front tower and in the stern tower. But this thing isn't designed for long-term warfighting. It's a stabilization ship, so to speak. It also, supposedly, is going to have, I think, less than lethal weapons. I think I read that somewhere. Yeah, security missions rather than high-intensity naval combat. What I do see this thing doing rather well is anti-piracy missions. But do you really need a ship displacing 7,000 tons? Well, 5,800 tons in sea power to do that? Can you not do that with a smaller platform? I mean, the Dutch have a smaller patrol boat, which also has a ton of discussion because it cannot do warfighting. But for an anti-piracy mission or anti-drug smuggling, it works for that. This thing looks very expensive for what it's going to do. Very expensive. Because one of these ships is, at least it cost 775 million euros in 2007, which is apparently equivalent to 959 million in 2021. Hello, inflation. It's a curious ship. It's a curious ship. Now, in what sort of setting in sea power would you see this thing, I wonder? It could be another one of those missions, like escort something through the strait next to Yemen. Do anti-piracy next to Somalia. Something in that range. It might do well-ish. But even there, I think not having a helicopter is a bit of a problem. That could, however, be something in sea power, not so much in the actual ship, because, as you can see, we have a flight deck and we have a double hangar, because this ship is supposed to carry 2 NH-90 helicopters. So maybe those are going to come later. For now, though, I do like the model. I think the model looks really good. You can see it has those smaller armaments. There, here, there. It's definitely good at defending itself, but it's like a punching bag. It can barely punch back. And that's something that I think for sea power, this ship, well, it could be a problem for this particular ship. Anyway, that is my my opinion on these ships. Let me know what your thoughts are down below in the comments. If you want to download this ship, be sure to download it and all of its required mods, linked down below in the description. Thank you for watching. I'll see you soon for more sea power.